Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Sandy's Bowling Lanes in Wyndham. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and it's a brand new ladder, our last ladder, in fact, of the season before we take a summer vacation, and we're going to have some excitement, I have a feeling. We've got mixed doubles and a lot of familiar faces in this ladder.
Yeah, not only mixed doubles, but Scotch doubles, where the man bowls the first two boxes, the women follows the third and fourth, and vice versa, all the way down the first string. So it's a little different because the women will have to fill the men's spares or strikes unless it's the last box. Couple different twists that we'll explain as we get into the show.
All right, first of all, let's explain whom our two teams are for this first show. Of course, number 6 seed against the number 5 seed, as always in the first week of a 5-week series. The number 6 seeded team, both have actually, one has been here before. Lois Queen has been here once before in action, and Rick Barrett making his first appearance.
Yeah, Rick's 122 average, along with his partner Lois Queen, 112. Teaming up, like you said, Rick, first time with Carol. Lois has been with us before. Interesting to see. Both couples seem a little nervous before we get going today because it's a different format, but should be interesting.
All right, and our 5th-seeded team, who had to participate in a roll-off just before we began taping to determine whether they'd be bowling in this show or the next show, because we had a tie for the 4th place spot in the overall roll-off. But turning up in 5th place, Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner. Steve Vadney, of course, has been here almost as often as you have.
More even, I think. Yeah, and you get a partner in Jackie Sterner, newcomer to our show, but she's teamed up with a veteran like Steve Vadney, so that should help that team a little bit. So shapes up to be a real good one.
And of course, all of this sponsored and brought to you by the Stoneham Cooperative Bank. We're pleased to have them with us, and we hope to get involved a little bit more with that a little bit later on during the show as we have more time, and introduce you to some of the folks from Stoneham Cooperative Bank. But we're going to take a time out, come back with the first string of our 3-string mixed Scotch doubles match here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes right after this timeout. Don't go away. We are back, and let's take a look at the ladder for this Stoneham Cooperative Bank Mixed Doubles Championship. And again, we start off with the two teams we introduced to you moments ago. In the weeks ahead, well, we've got an awful lot of familiar and big names. So don't go away the next few weeks, because this is going to be some interesting bowling. John Potorsky and Carol Moran are number 4 seed. In fact, that was the team that rolled off against Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner for that 4th spot. They had tied for 4th with a combined roll-off score of 1277. They had to roll an extra string. John Potorsky and Carol Moran won that string 115 to 113 to take that number 4 spot. Pat Pay and Pat Kerr, our number 3 team. The number 2 team, Clarence Davis and Tony Marie Baldinelli, each of those bowlers has won previous ladder championships here on Stars and Strikes. And Gary Duffett and Carol Downey, our number 1 seed. And no, we did not plan that. That's just the way it turned out. And so we'll be looking forward to all those bowlers making their appearances in the weeks to come. But right now, Rick Barrett is set to get us started on lane 32 as we begin our mixed Scotch doubles series here, all sponsored by the Stoneham Cooperative Bank, and we're certainly thrilled to welcome them as a major sponsor to Candlepin Stars and Strikes, and we appreciate their support. And that's a lob for Rick Barrett, so he's going to have to reset. So we get off to a bit of a slow start here, and Rick is going to reset and start once again. There's Dennis Noel, our lob line judge, making the call and getting into it early.
Well, that's have a tendency to do that when you're first starting off. First appearance, kind of squeeze that ball a little tighter than you want to. Lofted it out over that lob line. That's better. Rick.
So this will now be Rick's 3rd shot here in the first box. And he will settle for a 6. We have a lot of interesting coincidences in this ladder series. Of course, Stoneham Cooperative Bank is the major sponsor of the series. Jackie Sterner, whom we'll be seeing momentarily as one of our bowlers in this show, is employed at the bank. And Marianne Kelly, who is keeping the big scoreboard for us this week in place of Carol Downey, of course, who is getting ready to bowl in the weeks ahead. Marianne is the assistant treasurer of Stoneham Cooperative Bank and also Jackie's sister. So we have many interesting coincidences to point out.
Of course, both Jackie and Marianne, avid bowlers and very good Candlepin bowlers.
And now Steve Vadney. And here's a guy who's dominated this program as much as anyone over the years we've been on the air.
That was very close to a lob, too, for Steve. Spread eagle. 3, 6, 10, 2, 4, and 7 on the left.
Steve making his 14th appearance on Stars and Strikes, his first in doubles competition. And the previous 13 times he's been here, he has a record of 10-3. And in those 13 shows, he has thrown 407 times, more than anyone else. And Steve will shoot at a 4-pin.
Not to steal any of your ammunition, Doug, but you did a lot of your homework here, and I don't want to look like...
It's for both of us. It's to make us both look good.
But the amazing thing is, I really thought Steve was a fairly decent bowler, but his average match is only 399. You want to go technically, .69. So every time you bowl a 3-string match here in Stars and Strikes, very nearly hits 400.
Here's Lois Queen. Lois is Rick Barrett's partner. And Lois has been here before.
Yeah, she was in just about a year ago, a little less than a year ago, 2 years ago, I'm sorry, 85, with a team with the mixed doubles of Paul Wambach, and they lost to Carol Downey and Mike Poulin, 400 to 349. So Lois has been with us.
That was in the first round of the WCBC Mixed Doubles Championship, in which Lois appeared.
Lois starts the ball out in the right, breaks sharp at the end. She has to really make adjustments for that break. Now, usually, rule of thumb in a Scotch mixed doubles, the scores usually have a tendency to be a little lower than normal, obviously, because you're switching partners a little longer before you get up there.
Right, I imagine you tend to get a little bit cold.
Right. But it's an interesting format, and I think you're going to enjoy it the next few weeks, because we've got some real good bowlers coming on, as well as these four with us today.
An 8 for Lois Queen and a 33 for the team through 4. And now we'll get a look at our fourth participant on this week's program, Jackie Sterner, making her first appearance here on Stars and Strikes. And that was a lob.
No,
it was not.
It off.
No, it was not.
It was very, very close. Very, very close. And
Jackie picks up the first mark of the day.
So she's here and not only representing herself, but Stoneham Cooperative Bank, and you see a nice spear there, and I guess she keeps her job now.
And fills it, giving her team a 10-pin lead.
Leaves herself to 4-7-8. And another mark. And of the four people I was talking before the show, she seemed to be the most nervous. I mean, she's drinking a cup of coffee, her hands were trembling. I said, relax, you know, you're not going in front of a firing squad here. I told her the first couple boxes always are the toughest, and after that you relax. So if that means anything, she's got bigger and better things coming. Showed no signs of being nervous. Back to Rick, 1, 2, and 4 for a spare, looking for their first mark.
First opportunity, really. Rick's had a chance for her, and boy, just missed it.
A little heavy. Got the 1 and the 4, left the 2.
Rick is from Goffstown, works for the Department of Transportation, and he and his wife Linda have a 5-year-old daughter, Stephanie. And there's a nice shot for Rick. Buried that one in the pocket a little bit better, and is left with the 3-5.
Crossed over in the 1-2 pocket that time, and there's the first mark, and that's always, whew, a load off your shoulders and get that first one up in front of you.
Again, especially in this format, because if you don't get one, you have a longer time to wait.
That's right, before you can try again. Next time up, of course, Lois Queen will be filling the mark for him.
Now, Steve Vadney to fill that spare left by Jackie Sterner. And he'll get more.
8 fill with the 3 and the 10. Piece of wood that may be of some help.
3 in a row? Yes,
it is.
For the team.
5 fill. 4 horsemen to the right, plus that 8-pin in the back for Steve Vadney, and former New Hampshire state champ, a couple years in a row.
And it's a 9-box.
Which, as we speak, the New Hampshire Candlepin State Tournament is in progress here at Sandy's.
I presume you are entered?
Yes, I am. Yet to bowl my first event, but it'll be coming up shortly.
Well, if you want to catch me during a commercial break, I can give you a pointer or two.
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate that.
Okay.
It's really going to help me out. I think she'll try to shoot for the 10-pin here. Jumping across. That's that break. Break sharp from right to left.
Lois, of course, with that 7 fill on the spare left by her partner. And she will settle for a 9.
So 17 pins, the lead for Sterner and Vadney through 6 boxes. Good looking ball.
Not quite on the 7-pin. .78 for the team through 8. They trail, as you see, through 6 completed frames by 17. Now Jackie Sterner once again, who's a perfect 2 for 2 so far.
Off target a little bit there. We move to 4, 7, and 8. See Jackie's high single. She's a member of the WCBC Pro Tour. That's probably why.
Although I was talking to her before the match, Dan, and she really has not entered that many television roll-offs. This really is her first attempt at it, and obviously
not well.
On lane 31, burying that one, leaving the 2-pin.
For the one who's I thought was the most nervous is the one that's got the most marks. She's got 2, partner got 1, and she's got another one right on it. Nice bowling for Jackie Sterner.
4 marks for the team. And now Rick Barrett to finish out this first string. The ladies, of course, will lead off the second string, and then the men again to lead off the third.
Jackie Sterner and Steve Vadney are threatening to take a commanding lead into that second game. Things can turn around in a hurry in this format. Really, Rick and Lois really haven't got on track yet.
87 for Barrett and Queen through 9. And just the 1 mark so far.
Rick does most of his bowling at the Kings Lanes. Manchester or Bernardville, right on the borderline there, I guess.
No. So it'll be under 100 for the team in this first string.
This would be the only situation where the bowler would fill his or her own mark. Is this the last box? They would stay up there and fill the mark. Other than that, the partners are the ones that throw the bonus ball on the mark, as Steve Vadney will do now, by virtue of his partner, Jackie Sterner, getting a mark in the 8th.
off target, but he'll fill it with an 8.
And some help down there. He's going to play that 9-pin wood in front of the 9-pin and snap it toward the 7. Probably the left-hand side of that wood. He's going over the right, and
wow.
The ball just missed it. Wood hit it. But there it sits, laughing at us. I'm not going down. Good ball by Steve Vadney, 4-7. After we take our break, though, we'll come back and we'll explain how the teams actually came about. It's not really complicated. We'll take a few minutes to tell you.
Spare for Steve Vadney in the 10th, and he will fill it. Rather routine shot for Steve. His second mark, 5th for the team.
And a very, very good game as far as the format goes. Again, off target, but got some decent break with a 6 fill and a 130.
So it's a 33-pin lead for the team of Jackie Sterner and Steve Vadney after the first of 3 strings total, of course, just like our regular format, in mixed Scotch doubles. And we'll be back to get going with more and explain a little bit more about how these teams were formed for this ladder championship when we return. Before we get, well, we'll get right back to the action here, and then we'll explain a little bit more about how the teams were formed. But Jackie Sterner is going to get us started here in the second string. And she starts off with a spare.
I'll tell you, she's around that head pin every first ball.
Two more for Jackie.
One and 3. Missed the head pin, but left herself the 1 and the 2 for the spare, and something that they really got to get moving. 33 pins down. They're facing a double mark. Now it's not going to come back for her.
For Lois. As the ladies lead off here in the middle string, and then the men again in the third. So for those who are interested, it's of the 30 boxes, 16 are rolled by the men and 14 by the women.
The car in the parking lot with its lights on. Chevrolet Master Tag 176KRT.
Lois is really having a tough time finding the line. On 32s, left the ball short, didn't break back. That one almost made it. A little light in the head pin. That's the trouble with playing a ball that breaks as much as hers does. That's a good out, 9.
And now Steve Vadney. Filling a mark left by Jackie Sterner.
Oh boy.
And he fills it.
Patented Steve Vadney strike. 1-2 pocket. Ball comes back a little bit. Breaks a little bit from left to right. Back up. And there's the result. And maybe 2. No, 6-10 for another spare, and could be 4 in a row, and threatening to run away and hide here in the second game. Oops,
Just kept it on the lane. 4 in a row for Steve and Jackie.
Nice out by Rick. Fortunately, we need some marks for Rick now. The Tiger by the tail, and Jackie Sterner and Steve Vadney. Did you see the 10 box by Rick?
And still not much to shoot at. Might have preferred that 6-pin stayed up there. 4-pin, rather.
1, 2, and 7. Looks good going down. Nice shot.
Yes.
That's it.
And we will break right there as we take another look at Rick Barrett's spare in the 4th. Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner are in the lead, and we'll be back with more bowling here on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Well, Jackie Sterner has rolled 6 boxes so far, and she has 5 marks. And she's filling one here, left by her partner, Steve Vadney.
4 horsemen, 1, 3, 6, and 10. 74 after 4, and there's another one. Oh, I wish I'd be as nervous as she was before she started.
That's 6 out of 7 now.
Not too bad. That's most of her bowling at Baldinelli's Bowladrome. I think it's Baldinelli's Bowl Away. Let me check that. Bowl Away, I was right, second time. Well, get my one mistake out for each show. I got it out of the way early. 89 at the turn for the second game between Jackie Sterner and Steve Vadney. I tell you, that's a real fight. I thought the first game was great. They're on their way to topping that one now.
Lois Queen now to step up and fill a mark left by Rick Barrett, and Lois herself is looking for her first mark of the match.
And again, well, a lot of lane dressing here. I don't want to overkill a point, but that ball that breaks, she's really got to almost shoot directly at the pins. The ball doesn't break as much for her on these lanes as it might on some other lanes.
Watch out.
Oh, boy.
And it's a 2-box.
Look, she actually hit that head pin. No, spare 2 and 2.
Lois struggling.
That's a little better. That's going to come back for her. A little more direct line that time at the head pin.
And there's Lois's first mark of the day. 3rd for the team. And that'll leave Rick something to work on when he comes up the next time. Steve Vadney now. Steve has 4 marks and set up for another one here on the 5-9 with no wood.
Oh, just broke to the right, missed the 5-pin, the object pin.
Steve works for Sturm Ruger in Newport, lives in Claremont with his wife Annette and their 2 children, Jennifer and Stevie.
Left the 7-pin. Well, there's a little opening for Lois Queen and Rick Barrett.
Rick, remember, now working on the spare left by Lois in the 6th. That's the first time in the match that Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner have gone more than 2 boxes in a row without a mark.
Oh, good ball there by Rick. Oh, for a minute I thought he was going to be left with a 4, 8, and 10. Finally, the 4 and the 10 went down, left in the 8. Got a good shot at another spare. And
yes.
Another good-looking ball. Just a little heavy that time. 6 fill. 3, 5, 6, and 10.
He could use another mark, needless to say.
Looks good, too.
Yes.
Nice shot. Nice shot, Rick. Well, you see a replay. Splits the 3 and the 6.
Jackie Sterner.
Nothing short of spectacular so far for Jackie Sterner. I believe it's 6 out of 8 boxes with marks. Not too bad.
Got a shot here. Ooh, just missed the head pin.
Nice out. Wow.
10 box.
She just missed making that spare. The second ball, this time, a little bit of correction back on the head pin, and there's the result. Nice shot.
Perhaps a little bit full that time, but gets away with it.
Similar shot that Rick made for spare. In the last box, he was up there, but on the opposite side. 2, 4, 5, and 7. And just a little heavy on the 2-pin. But again, another fine game.
5 marks in a row to open the string, and then 5 open boxes in a row to wrap it up, but good enough for a 136 and a 266 through 2, which is outstanding in this format.
Certainly is.
Lois Queen now working on the spare left by Rick Barrett.
Again, having trouble with that lane 32. 4 fill.
Wood slid over there momentarily to help her out on this shot, and now it's kind of wobbling, so we'll see where it winds up. Lois will have to wait it out. There's the situation.
Better hurry.
And a 9 box. She'll move over to lane 31 now for the 10th and final box of this middle string. And it won't be much fun.
3, 4, and 7. Well, I don't see anything but trying to cut the 3 over. I don't think the wood next to the 4 and 7 is up far enough to carry the 3. Well, she's going for the wood, but it's being behind the 3-pin.
It's going to be a long way to go for the team of Rick Barrett and Lois Queen in the 3rd string, but stranger things have happened. It'll be 110 and a total of 207 for the team through 2. So as Marianne Kelly puts the totals up, make it 206, of course, after 2. 96 and 110 being 206 the last time I checked. We'll be back with more on Stars and Strikes right after these words. All right, let's take a look now at how the bowlers were paired up and how they originally got here. The roll-offs were held individually. There was a men's roll-off and a women's roll-off separately. And there you see the results of the men's roll-off. Rick Barrett with a 693, Steve Vadney with a 692. And you figure, well, these guys finished 1-2. What are they doing here in the first match of the ladder? Well, it's a doubles tournament, of course, so the doubles, the combined score of the 2 bowlers is what mattered. So what happened was you take these 6 scores and then add them together with these 6. Let's look at the women's roll-off scores. And basically what happened was the number 1 seeded man was paired with the number 6 seeded woman, as you see, Lois Queen. Their scores were then added together. And combined, that came to 1265, which actually was not that far away from the number 1 seed. There was only 27 pins difference from top to bottom in the combined scores of these 6 teams. But there's how the ladies finished 1 through 6. So, for instance, Carol Downey, who finished 4th individually, ended up seeded 1st in the team scorings. Tony Marie Baldinelli, who won the women's roll-off, ended up seeded 2nd with Clarence Davis. So that's just how it worked out in this mixed doubles format. Rick Barrett now set to get us started on lane 32 for this 3rd and final string. And there's a long way to go for the team. They trail by 60. And that's one way to start it. They need marks. And that wood is coming out, and we're going to have Dennis go take a look at it, I believe. It's that deadwood line, of course, 18 inches out in front, and if the wood is touching that deadwood line at all, then it has to be removed, and that proves to be beneficial for Rick, because it would have been right in front of the 4-pin. And he's got it.
Well, the last few boxes of that second game, Rick seemed to hit a little bit of a groove and got a few marks up for himself and his team. And he's carrying on where he left off. A little light hit, but not too bad, but not a good result. 7 fill, but he's left himself to 2, 5, and 10. Left side of the 2-pin. Gotta hurry. Nope.
.26 start.
Right, Dad, start it up.
And Steve kicks out the 4 and 7.
1, 2, 10.
Playing it inside and not quite.
Only hope for Rick and Lois is to have Jackie and Steve hit a real dry spell. 60 pins, a lot of pins, almost 7 good marks they need to catch him. And with 10 boxes, that's a large order.
And Steve will have another split. This time it'll be the 2-4-7.
Got some help this wood in between may help. Good play on the inside. Well, not that far inside. But if he hit that 2-pin, and the ball might have carried him into that piece of wood in front of the 10 and gave him some help.
The team of Barrett and Queen picking up 7 pins in the first 2 boxes, but they've got to string some marks together. Close to a lob for Lois, but it'll turn out to be a spare leave.
Well, she may be thinking of the trouble she's having on 32, and that's one way of trying to correct it. Loft the ball out a little further on the lane and hope that you don't lob. She came very close, but no call, no lob. 4-7 for the spare.
And right on it.
Good mark. Yeah.
That's Lois's second mark of the match, the 7th for the team.
This one's got to hurry. And again, well, it's hard to distinguish between the 2 balls, but that one you didn't even hear hit the lane, so it came in contact with the lane right away, sent the ball way out to the right. Tough time coming back. The other one before, she lofted out there a little further, and the result was a little better. Tough to change your style in the middle of a 3-string match, though.
Especially when you're only up there every once in a while rather than the whole match.
And you bowl 2 and got to wait 6 boxes. That's 6 frames. That's really tough.
Now Jackie Sterner for her first 2 here in the last string. And that ball landed right on the lob line, too. On the diamond. She's made every other shot. I thought maybe she was going to make that one, too.
She could have very easily. She hit that shot. An awful lot of luck at making that 9-pin, but covers it for the spare. She should be proud. She's bowling extremely well for the first time on any kind of TV show. week's challengers will be John Petorsky and Carol Moran.
And a spare.
Nice shot.
That is mark number 7 for Jackie Sterner of the team's 11, and we will pause right here. Through 4 in the 3rd and final string. We'll be back with more on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Rick Barrett now in box number 5 here in the 3rd and final string.
Well, I honestly say that Rick's been a different bowler from about the 7th or 8th box of the 2nd string on. On the head pin much more in the results, but unfortunately a little too far behind. Nice out. Lois Queen, Rick's partner, does most of her bowling at the leader lanes in Nashua.
Big 9 drop for Rick that time, leaving the 6 pin.
Not to leave anybody out, you probably know by now that Steve Vadney does most of his bowlings at the Sunset Lanes in Newport.
Well, he does most of his bowling here, actually,
that's
on our
true.
show.
That's true.
Spare for Rick in the 6th. Now Steve will come up and fill the mark left by Jackie Sterner. Included in those 10 wins for Steve Vadney are 3 ladder championship victories.
You see the Stoneham Cooperative Bank logo in the background, and again, it's a credit to Candlepin Bowling, but I think it's a credit to Channel 50 Sports to attract sponsors such as Cooperative Bank, and we're glad to have them aboard.
We certainly want to acknowledge President of the Stoneham Cooperative Bank, Dick Coughlin, and the Vice President, Jan Houghton, for their efforts in bringing this all to pass, and all of the employees, of course, as well, and customers and friends of the Stoneham Cooperative Bank.
Nice out by Steve Vadney.
Lois Queen now for her final 2 of the day. Lois with 2 marks. Put that one in the pocket pretty nicely. Not much to show for it. The 5, 6, and 10, although the wood is angled so that she might have a shot at sweeping it over.
It turned just enough. It's not much room for error, but she's going to have a shot. Nice. Oh, too bad.
Lois is from Woburn, Mass. She and her husband Richard, 2 children, Cynthia and Richie, and Lois works as a bookkeeper. That's a pretty good trip from Woburn to do a lot of bowling in Nashua. But of course, many of these bowlers, particularly the ones on the Pro Tour, sometimes to call one lane a home lane is really a little redundant because of the way you guys travel around so much.
They really love the sport. They don't mind traveling 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours. And sometimes with the traffic on 93 from Woburn to Nashua, it could be 4 hours.
Oh, this is an interesting leave. Lois will shoot at the diamond right with the 7-pin tucked over in the corner.
And needless to say, we have seen Lois Queen a little sharper than she is today, but that's the game of Candlepin bowling. Just when you think you've figured it out, you have a humbling experience like today for Lois.
Now Jackie Sterner for her final 2. And what a day she's had.
And that's just about the only thing she hasn't done is thrown a strike. I think Steve is the one that's got the strike. But
Jackie looking for her 8th mark, and she just missed it.
Oh, I thought she had it covered. Last minute, broke to the right. There it goes.
Jackie lives right in Stoneham, and as we mentioned earlier, she is employed at the Stoneham Cooperative Bank. So it'll be a good week for Jackie at work, I guess, after this performance.
They probably should give her a week off or something. You see the president, the vice president now phoning Channel 50. What's that guy doing there?
We'll refer them to you. The wood is okay after being checked by Dennis.
No, she's done herself proud, Jackie. She's bowled extremely well today. More marks than Steve, as a matter of fact, and I'm going to be quick to mention that to Steve after the show.
Jackie with 7 marks in 14 boxes, so 50%, not bad. You throw a 400 series very easily with 50% marks. Jackie's just waiting for a piece of wood to settle down.
Mentioned Mary Ann Kelly on the big scoreboard for us, an assistant treasurer, and she hasn't made an addition mistake yet, which is, I didn't realize that's a lot of pressure on her, too. Oh, there's the ball, Rick. A little too little, too late, but 1-2 pocket. Nice strike. There's spare on strike.
Rick's actually finishing off with a pretty good day. That's 8 marks now for Mr. Barrett, 10 for the team, and it's 124 plus ball here in this 3rd and final string. So they'll salvage a more respectable score, but wow, what a way to finish it. A 1 fill, it'll be a 125 and a 331 for the team of Rick Barrett and Lois Queen. So it's already been decided. Was quite a while ago, in fact, as Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner will be moving on to face John Petorsky and Carol Moran next week. We're going to take a quick break while Steve finishes it off, and we'll be back to tell you the final scores and talk to the bowlers right after this timeout. Don't go away. All right, back at Sandy's for Stars and Strikes, and first a visit with our runners-up for this afternoon show. Lois, I know you'd rather things turned out a little bit differently, but this is a tough format, and we talked about that during the program. It's tough to kind of bowl 2 and then sit down for a long time.
I think I should have sat down all day.
Well, in any case, it's good to have you here, and we know that you're a higher average bowler than you showed today, but this is a tough format, and we appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
All right, Lois Queen and Rick Barrett, you got it cranking there a little bit at the end, but by that point, it was a little bit too far out of control.
Got the butterflies out. You know, it got started late, but it's first time on, so a little nervous. And
Well, we appreciate you both being here, and of course we do have some loot for both of you. We have a $25 check and the runner-up plaque from the N&R Trophy Company, and also a copy of Jim Fairhurst's book, and our best wishes, and we hope to see you both again sometime soon. All right, Lois Queen and Rick Barrett, our runner-up team on this afternoon's program, and now we'll have Jackie Sterner over on lane 31 to roll our bonus ball. Jackie gets the honor, having rolled the most marks during the program for the winning team. Go ahead, Jackie, and we'll see if we can get a match here. We've got $20 on the line, and we've got a 5 here, so Jackie and Steve, come on over, and we'll chat in just a second. We're looking for a 5, and it is not a match for Beatrice Swan from Manchester. So Beatrice Swan, you'll be getting a TV50 NHCBA desk pen in the mail very soon. The jackpot goes up another $10 to $30 next week. Jackie, congratulations. That's terrific bowling.
Thank you.
I know from Dan was telling me that you were a little bit nervous beforehand, but you throw those 2 marks. I guess you're not nervous after that.
It helped a lot.
Well, congratulations. And Steve, kind of an off day, I guess, for you compared to what you've been doing in the past. But what about this format? We talked about it during the show. It's tough to kind of bowl 2 boxes and then sit for a while, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Always is, especially switching one lane to another. It makes it harder, too.
Luckily, you had a hot partner, right?
Right. I had a lot of help.
All right, well, we'll see both of you next week. You'll be back to face our number 4 seeded team, which is John Petorsky and Carol Moran. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.
All right. Steve Vadney and Jackie Sterner, our winning team from this week, and that sets up our match for next week. And, of course, we've getting into some bowlers here in the top seeds that have been here with us before. John Petorsky and Carol Moran both have been here before. So now with this team with 1 match already under their belt and now a veteran team coming in, the scores should get pretty interesting from here on in.
Yeah, it should. And Jackie's got 1 match under her belt and bowled extremely well, so she won't be half as nervous. But I don't know, maybe she should be that nervous. I don't know. Half of her boxes were marks, and you know, asked Steve how difficult the match was, and it wasn't difficult for him at all. He had a great partner, so it'll be interesting next week to see John Petorsky come on with his partner and see what happens.
All right, so the second match of our 5-week ladder championship series, the Stoneham Cooperative Bank Mixed Doubles Championship, will be next Sunday at 12 noon. Of course, the repeated show Saturday afternoon at 5. And we hope you'll be joining us here at Sandy's Bowling Lanes in Wyndham. For Dan Murphy and the whole TV50 sports crew, Doug Brown. So long, everybody, from Sandy's.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes has been brought to you in part by Ray's Hair Replacement Center, Bedford Commons, Bedford, New Hampshire.